Hi, Sfiso. This is Tapelo Masita. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you very much for your questions. I decided to make shorter videos so that I can actually get to everybody's questions without feeling like I have shortchanged people. So I just wanted to answer your questions specifically. Your first question has to do with how I managed to overcome obstacles that came with starting to learn the cello at the age of 12. Um, I think there are many things that I can attribute to why I overcame them, and a lot of them are organic. But I guess the most important thing that I feel helped me overcome was the fact that I really loved playing the cello, and I just really wanted to be good. There were a lot of older kids and even younger kids in my program in Bloemfontein, where I come from and where I started, who played way better than I did. So I just really wanted to be good. So I really kind of kept my head down and focused really on the fact that I really loved it, and eventually I kept getting better and better. I was also lucky because I had great teachers. Okay, so your next question. How did you balance out your schoolwork with cello practicing? Do you have a schedule, or did you have a schedule, or a timetable of some sort? Um, so I guess it goes back to really being very enthusiastic about the cello. I was basically playing all the time when I wasn't doing school stuff. Um, so I wasn't one of those kids who went to, an art school. My school was, very much maths, economics, and science focused. I barely played any sports really, as well. So my 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 schooling was very sort of like academic, and playing the cello was something that I always had to find time in my day to make sure that I played. So I think every day, I mean, for sure, I played every day, like without question. I just practiced every day. But generally, I'd say I liked to, before I leave for school, I liked to like try and play a few notes if possible. And then usually after school, I would come back home, do my homework, and then get right back to playing the cello. I usually would, I timed it with generations, which is a little weird. So generations started at 8, and by the time I got home, after school, usually if I didn't go to our music program, I got home around 3:30 or something like that. So I would, eat something and then do my homework. But as soon as I was done, it was around 5. So then I would practice from 5 till Generations. So then yeah, and then I watched the Generations, and then I would usually maybe try and go back and maybe brush up on some extra math homework or whatever I had for that day. And that's basically how I broke it up. I tried to play a little bit before I left for school, if it was at all possible. And then when I came back home, I tried to put in around 3 hours. I wasn't thinking that that I'm going to practice 3 hours now. It was just something that happened to be. Okay, so yeah, that's what I did, and I hope that's helpful. So basically, what I'm saying is that it's important to try and find a way to make it work for your life. So just make sure you're being um, you're being organized, and also with regards to what you're trying to learn when you're trying to learn it, things like that. Next question. Can I recommend any practice regimens? Okay, so that comes back to the whole idea of being organized. I don't personally like to tell people how long they should practice, but I like to think of my practicing as being in basically three components. First is what my old cello teacher used to call pure technique, which is like your scales, your arpeggios, practicing your thirds and your sixths, so like that sort of stuff. So I make sure that I get a good chunk of the day where I really feel like I've done enough of scales, and I've done enough of my thirds and sixths, and I've done them in patterns as well. So when I feel satisfied with that, for me that generally takes about an hour. Then I come to the second component of my practice, which usually is working on a specific skill, and that it usually comes from in the form of working on an etude. So currently I'm working on Popper 12. I'm bringing it back just because it's it's an etude that I feel like I'd never mastered when I worked on it when I was younger. So I'm trying to go back to it and figure out all the things that I missed. And then finally I spend the most of my time during the day, during my practice, on my repertoire. And how I approach that is immediately after I finish my etude practice, when I really feel like I'm very warmed up, I know where the notes are on the cello. Then I start to really target all the hard parts in my pieces. So if I'm working on Dvorak concerto for a concert or a competition or something like that, usually what happens with me is like I start with all the double stop passages, all the things that are hard, and then I try to make sure that I work through all of those, and then I'll like take a break, and then when I come back later during the day, and maybe I have another 2 hours later where I continue working on my repertoire. But I always like to warm up. I make sure to warm up both physically, like doing jumping jacks or something like that, and then doing some scales to get ready to practice some more. And that's basically what I do. Yeah, just never. I'd be careful never to feel like you have to practice a certain amount of hours, but I think it's better to think about what it is you need to do, and at what level of mental energy are you able to practice. Like, how focused are you in your practice, and how goal driven are you in your practice? Like, are you going for something specific? That's always, for me, the most important thing is, no matter how much you're practicing, you are always going into your practice to achieve a certain goal, and that goal, you must plan for it ahead of time. Like, you must tell yourself, okay, this is what I want to achieve in the next 2 hours of my practice, and like it should already be something that you're going towards. Otherwise, I think it can be really hard to track your progress. So yeah, that's what I do. Okay, what kind of experience did I get when I was at Interlaken? Man, Interlaken was amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life. So many wonderful people, wonderful teachers, wonderful young artists that were there. So it was a great experience for me to study there. Um, yeah, if I really recommend going to Interlaken if you can make it work, and if you're interested, you should definitely try and go. Was it hard fitting into New York coming from South Africa? For me personally, no, it was not hard because I've always wanted to live in New York. Since I was very young, I had a fascination with the city. I remember when I was a kid, I thought it was just the coolest thing that they had yellow taxis, and I was completely obsessed with the fact that there were yellow taxis. So I thought that was really cool. So yeah, so it wasn't that hard for me. But what was difficult was fitting in, was like making, not fitting in, sorry, What was hard was making it work financially. That's the hardest part. Like, not because I don't come from like a rich family or anything. I always had to make sure that I, I paid for things and I found a way to make that work. So that part of it was hard for me. But personally, I think I really kind of felt at home when I first came here. What kind of tips do I have for you as a cellist, because you're currently going to audition at the Precious School of Music? Oh, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations. Um, you know, I mean, all I'd have to say is like, before your audition, my advice with that is always to be over prepared. Like, literally just work your butt off. But be very, at the same time, like, you must work very hard and, put in a lot of effort, but also free yourself to allow the music to happen in the moment. It's a very strange thing. It's like you have to work hard, uh, striving, for, your ideal sound, your ideal vision of the piece. But as soon as you walk on stage, you have to be in that moment, and knowing that you have done everything that you can to prepare, and just free yourself to express the music as well as you've learned it. Good luck, and I wish you the best. I think that's the end of your questions, Sfiso. So thank you. I hope this video was helpful. I know it's a little long, but I hope it. I really hope that you found it useful. So take care, and thank you for the questions. Um, Claudia knows my contacts, so if you have further questions or anything and you want to speak to me directly, please feel free to write to me on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, take care. Bye.